Hero's Journey.
All right, we're here to talk about this very interesting Starfall Legacy. So without further ado, let's just drop down to the table, show off the chassis, talk about what went on with the install, go over a few functions, and then we'll come back out, we'll show off a few more blade styles, and we'll wrap it up. Thanks for checking it out. All right, so let's check out this Legacy number 49 of 50 from Starfall. So this was sent to me by the client after being powder coated very expertly by Chris Royal Custom Armory. In this copper, it's almost a rose goldish copper. It's a little bit different than I've seen. It's very handsome, very cool, very well done. And then I don't know if you can tell, but some of the brass accents even get the copper treatment. So like these, it's really hard to tell, but these set screws also got powder coated. But yeah, so this sports the resin greeblie chassis that I designed for the previous two that I installed, but I did have to modify it because this one also comes with a crystal chamber by Nick, but Nick did a little something different on this one, which meant that it was a little bit longer than the previous two, so I had to do some modifications here on the back end to accommodate for that. And then the customer also saw that I was able to put some brass mesh on the back side of the crystal, so we did that here. Here we have our chassis retention screw, so that keeps everything in place, so don't mess with that. But we've got a cool little crystal chamber here, and then I did my best to kind of use my rub and buff and paints to get copper and brass accents. Sorry, I'm in a different seated position because my battery ran out and I had to start over. Yeah, so we've got the little bit different color scheme. It's very similar to one I did before, but just, you know, if you look at all of them, I just make different decisions on some of these greeblies and things like that. But customer wanted copper, brass, and so then I also did a little bit of silver here, like on the vent greeblie, and then a couple other greeblies get that. So we've got a 2020 NeoPixel accent strip under here, subdivided into 3 blades on this. And then we've got the Shadowfoil. Here, why don't we just start it up? Got our kill switch. So we got our Shadowfoil accent PCB here. The central pixel does its own thing, and then the outer ring animates in its way underneath that greeblie. And you can see we've got something going on there with those accent strips. Differs in the on and off state. And then on this side, we've got a baffle greeblie with some heat stain pigments and a Red Edison filament under there, doing different things, like this one I think is pulsing. And then we've got that same Shadowfoil NeoPixel accent under the crystal. And so I stopped it on this particular one when I was trying to film before, to show that the imperfections in the crystal kind of show up with all the different accents. Let's see, we'll start up muted here and see if we can show that off. But if I've got a rotary design where like it animates around the ring, sort of like this one does, then it'll show off all the cool little features in that quartz point. And so this particular customer also requested something that I've been doing on my higher end installs, and we subdivided the Shtok V3 NeoPixel emitter into inner and outer rings so that in the on and off state they can do different things. So for instance, you've got the outer ring pulsing, and then the inner one doing a rotary effect. And then again, I'll start up muted. And so now both of them are doing probably different timed effects. But for the most part, the crystal will match the main blade for each of the Starfall font collection. This sports the 8 or so fonts plus a battery level indicator at the very end. On the battery level indicator, I think I've only got the crystal chamber lighting up from green to red. At any point in time, I've got the Proffie OS voice pack on here. So if you hold aux and tap power, top is main, bottom is aux.
Battery level 99%.
So we've got the Hu Yang voice pack on here. Again, 28mm KR bass speaker, Proffie V3, OS 714, FET 263 prop file, high amp kill switch, 2020 accent strip here, Shadowfoil, Edison, Shadowfoil, Shtok. And that covers all the components. And then we do have a couple extra fonts at the end. I think I did some stock Proffie fonts just because I had done that on a previous install to show off a couple extra colors.
Hero's Journey.
So the Starfall font collection covers all the canon colors. Everything will react to blaster blocks, flashes, lightning blocks. In the off state, to play the designated track, you'll point the hilt up and hold power for 1 second. But if you hold it sideways, then you'll get the track player mode. So again, hold power for a second or two. You hear a little chime. And then I've loaded up a bunch of different tracks in the common folder. And so you can rotate till you find one you like, press power or aux. They'll do different things depending on what. And again, you can read up. I'll have a printout for you. I think this particular client is familiar with Proffie, so they'll be able to do probably things that they're accustomed to doing. So when we're ready, we can put the grip on carefully until we get to the end. You'll see that you get a little bit of shine through there. And as long as it's not a blue color, you should get some shine through there as well. Takes a 1-inch diameter NeoPixel blade. I believe I've set this up for 32-inch blade length. But if you're familiar with the config to the customer, you know where to edit that. I've got it very clearly delineated in the config, which is provided on the SD card. What the main blade is, the accent for the crystal, the greeblie accents, the port greeblie, and all that stuff. So you'll be able to, there's plenty of information to figure out how to do that. But yeah, so we'll just, because that 28's fully enclosed, you get really great resonance here. I should also give credit to the designers of the hilt for that as well, because that was something that Nick wanted to have really good sound. So this is perfectly designed to do that. So that is the hilt. We'll go over the rest with the blade in. Try to keep this short because, again, I've got a printout that covers everything that I don't discuss here. But when we're ready, we can pull the grip off, hit the kill switch, or we can pop the battery out. Now, I did provide this battery. This will be shipping with the Saber with a custom battery wrap. So we got the Starfall logo on one side and then some cool circuitry on the other. In the battery tray, we also have the Starfall logo. We have the positive clearly identified, but it's always spring side your negative, and then you'll just do nipple to nipple to get that going. So 18650 high discharge. This one is a 3000 milliamp hours, so should give you about 25 minutes of playtime, depending on what you got going on. And again, configs on the SD card if you are familiar, and you can reprogram to your delight. But to the customer, if you do have any questions, let me know, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks everybody else for watching. All right, so we showed off most of everything that was going on with the internals. So I wanted to kind of jump back out, show off a few of the blade styles and the sound fonts just to let the customer know that he's getting a good install, and then he'll be able to take the config and expound upon whatever he wants to do with it. So up top of the video, you saw me show off the Hero's Journey sound font to go over all of the different little things that you can do with clashes, lockups, blaster blocks, lightning blocks, tip effects like melt and then drag. But let's kind of go over how to do all that. So the way I was able to do that up top was with gesture controls, which hop into battle mode. So I've included twist on and thrust on. I don't believe I've got, swing on. So it's just those two. But thrust on would be a forward motion. That, kind of with the hilt sideways. But then a rev of like a motorcycle would be how you turn it on and off. So it's just a back and forth. So we are in battle mode, which means that if we clash the saber above a certain threshold, we'll engage a lockup. So if we don't want to do that, then we can just hit power button. So up top is power, bottom is aux. Now we're just in regular mode, which means a clash will only ever be a glancing deflection. And this may not show up in this ambient lighting, but you got different colors, different sound effects for that. Aux for blaster blocks. In regular mode, we're going to hold either power or aux as we clash the saber to engage a lockup. And when I say lockup, I do mean in the middle of the blade or tip effects like I mentioned before. Those are lockups as well. So hold aux. For as long as I'm holding the button, I'm in a lockup until I let go. However, in battle mode, you saw I pulled away. So that's how we get out of that. And again, that's the same for tip effects like drag. If drag will be pointing down, melt will be pointing sideways, and then that's that. So I also demonstrated up top force. Force is the hold power for a second. It's any direction except all the way up or pointing straight down. That'll get you a force effect. So just hold power for a second. Now the Starfall font package does have some force effects, but they're actually just like quotes to explain the lore of the sound font. You can explore that at your leisure. So if we did want it to do battle mode, we'll go to a different preset here. Ruin is one that if we do a gesture control, we're going to bypass a preon. This is the only Starfall font with a preon. I did include, I think, some extra Proffie fonts like Coda and Liquid Static that have preons. The only way to get a preon is to hit power. So let's just demonstrate that real quick. Real short, little emitter flare, and then we get our ignition. And again, now we're in regular mode. But if we twist on or thrust on, we just get the ignition. So now, again, we're in battle mode. So clash starts a lockup until we pull away. If you do a light enough clash, you might get a blaster block or a deflection. There we go. It's real sensitive. So yeah. For the most part, it'll be a lockup. So that's just whichever you prefer. But in the off state, if we hold power for a second while the blade is horizontal, we'll get track player. I may have demonstrated this down below, but track player will let you rotate the hilt, go through all of the soundtracks I've included in the common folder. But if you want to get the designated track, you point the hilt straight up. And that will work with the blade on, the designated track. But again, you have to be pointed straight up. Otherwise, we do the force effects. So this particular force effect is pretty long, but what I've done for each sound font is it's a timed, the little animation on the blade is just timed to whatever the sound plays. So again, if you have a preset that has the quotes, then it could go on for a while. But
reconcile.
So if we do this one. You see it only goes unstable for as long as it's playing the force sound. But so that is that. We do have the very last preset.
Battery level.
Is a battery level indicator. So this is programmed for a 36-inch length, I believe, or no, 32-inch. So it will be all the way at the tip if it's fully charged. Any preset they're on, you can do the battery level indicator by holding aux and tapping power.
Battery level 89%.
Yeah, I do have the voice pack for Hu Yang on here. So if we go back one more. So here's Coda. So there are more fonts on the SD card than I have programmed for, but I've set my config up to kind of optimize the space so that you can add as many as you want. I want to say we're in the 50 to 60% range that the way I've done it. And the way I've done it is such that I'm using like maybe 4 styles with options that cover all of the accent pixels, and then 1 or 2 styles to cover all the standard Proffie fonts. Now the styles that came directly from those font makers for the Proffie one, those are just whatever they are. So yeah. That is that. And again, you'll see how that works as you open the config. This is to the customer. But do you have, like I said, an extra couple fonts here just to show off what's going on. Now, I do want to show off color change for 2 fonts. So Corn and Horn has color change direct. So it's just going to flip-flop back and forth between 2 colors. The white is the main blade, and then the purplish is the alt color. So it will start in the white. You got that speeder bike sound, right? So, but if I hold aux and tap power, and I'm going to hold my arm out so you can watch it wipe, it wipes to this purple. It's kind of hard to tell in this ambient lighting, but it's a purplish. And again, that's just hold aux, tap power. Any other font, you'll get it to color wheel. So we'll demonstrate that here. So. Okay, so here we got High Republic, which is just blue, so it'll be easy to get back to. But we got a spark tip ignition. So if we hold aux and tap power, we'll get into color change. You get that little sound effect.
Red.
And you hear Hu Yang actually announce the color.
Orange red. Dark orange.
So if we want to accept it, we'll hit power. We hear that little sound effect. So now, if we turn the saber off, sorry, I did a little accidental turn on there, it'll remember that color. But we can always get back to that blue color.
Red. Orange red. Dodger blue. Blue.
So now we're back. And I did manage to do a thing where I separated out the accent colors. But if you add a preset and do your own blade style, and then you do your own effects for these, just know that if you do the color change, all of those will change. But I've set it up such that they're going to be fine. So all of those will actually just stay whatever color I've programmed it. Only the main blade will change colors. So I hope that makes sense. That will pretty much cover it. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, anything I don't cover, there's a printout here. I believe to the customer, I believe you're familiar enough with Proffie that you won't need it. But this is sporting the OS 714 with the FET263 prop file, so you can read about how to do all of that. So I hope you enjoy it. So appreciate your patience, and thanks again for everyone else who's watching this, and may the force be with you.